Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelly Melissa Reinhart, and I was going to say that I'm really excited for you to be here, but I feel like I intro that way every single time I start the show. So why should I change it now? I don't know. I am excited for you as the audience to listen or watch, depending on if you're listening via the radio or you are on or watching from a streaming platform, or maybe you might be listening on one of the podcast platforms. I don't know. Wherever it is, thank you so much for tuning in. And as with every single guest that I bring on, I am very excited for my guest today. But I want to just chat a little bit about wellness in general, really fitness and coaches, and a little bit of all that goodness that we as humans should do, right? But also how maybe it shows up in our life. Maybe at moments in time, we find that we need to get somebody to support us because life maybe isn't going the same exact way that or the same exact. You wouldn't want it the same exact if you want to change it up, but maybe it's not going the exact way that you want it to go. So we have to have somebody that supports us, somebody that backs us up, somebody that is able to get us to a place that we are happy with however our life is. And sometimes that comes in the form of a coach or just somebody in our life. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a coach, but somebody that's close to us that can help assist us into that next level of our journey, whatever that might be. And I know I talk about these things in generals whenever I come up here, but that's because I don't want to spoil the conversation that I'm about to have with the guest. So, without going more in detail, I'm going to intro my guest for today. So, Jalen, aka jmoney, aka Godpreneur J, is a fitness and life coach that helps people transform their lives through holistic fitness. Hailing from Atlanta, Georgia, the entrepreneur mecca, Jalen has taken over his life by taking over his habits and creating positive discipline to become a full-time entrepreneur. He quit his full-time job in 2020 to ascend to the freedom he is at now to travel, network, and provide life-changing results for his clients and colleagues by way of helping them see their true inmate potential and draw that energy outward. Words are hard for me today for some reason. So without further ado, Jalen, thank you so much for joining me.
Kelly, thank you so much for having me. First of all, I just want to give a super duper thank you for the amazing introduction of your show, and obviously for having me on your show as well. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited for you to come on and share a little bit more about your story and your journey. So, without further ado, please tell the audience a little bit more about yourself.
Sure, it'll be my pleasure. Um, well, where do I start? Well, as you stated earlier, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, or raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and I went to school, graduated with a bachelor's degree. Didn't really like going to school like that. But after I found another path because initially I wanted to go to school and do like law school. I wanted to do that because I wanted to be a sports agent. That was my thing or whatever at the time. But like I just became frustrated with school and being in that environment. And it really wasn't for me. I really only finished because I was like, okay, I'm like halfway through. I'm just gonna do it to say that I did it. But it wasn't really a good time or like an ideal situation for me at the time. So finished school, I started working for UPS, and eventually I started driving, making money, $30 an hour, about $1,000 a week. It's pretty good money for anybody around this time. So during that time period, it was pretty cool. But then here came the pandemic, in 2020. So I was driving for a couple of years by then. I started in 2018. So by then I started, having to deal with the pandemic, and everybody was inside. But guess who was outside? All the delivery drivers, right? Because everybody is ordering packages still because they can't go to the store. You can't go shop. You can't go to the mall. So everybody's ordering packages and they still have to get their things. We're still a capitalist country, and money makes the world go around, and people buying is what makes the world go around, right? So we were outside every day, and we were very, very, very busy, as you might know. So with that being said, like, my job was very hard. It was depressing, in my opinion. It was a very tough environment to be in because they had me outside all day, every day, right? In these conditions. My truck was terrible. I couldn't even walk inside the back when I popped the door open. I couldn't even walk inside of the back, because it was just so crowded. Like, packages everywhere. It's unorganized. I had it were it was plenty of times where I had 300 plus stops to make on my truck, on my route alone. I had 300 plus stops to make, and that is insane. Normally, you'd have about anywhere from 100 to 200, just depending on what the route is. So I had 300. So there's no way I finished every day. And they would just throw me out there. I wouldn't get any help. I'd request it. It's very political with UPS. I'd request it. I want to get help, or, something like that. And there's just absolutely no way that I could finish it on my own. So every day it's the same thing over and over again. I'd be outside for 10 to 14 hours. I come home, I eat, uh, shower, and I got to get right back up in 8 hours, do it all over again. So that was like my life for, as long as the pandemic was going on, for a couple of months. So during this time, it was it was like I said, it was real depressing. I don't find myself to be like an anxious person or depressed person or like a negative person, but this was like a depressive state, right? And I identified this with myself, and it was just like a drag. Like, every day was a drag, and it was a negative, terrible feeling that I had to deal with, and I knew I just had to overcome it, and I just knew this wasn't going to fly because I was making good money, but at the same time, I always knew that UPS wasn't going to be my end all be all. Like, I wanted to do other things. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even when I wanted to be a sports agent, I was infatuated with the idea of, like, being able to work on my own terms, or even have my own sports agency firm or something like that along those lines, right? So I always knew that UPS wasn't going to be my final stop. So I feel like it kind of just expedited everything that I really wanted to manifest in my life. And I feel like it was divine intervention. You know, a lot of people came out of the pandemic and it really helped them. And I feel like that's exactly what it did for me, because a lot of people were perhaps, scared of what was going on or didn't know what to do. But to me, it was a realignment in hindsight, right? So I say all that to say, because I was in this depressive state, and it forced me to do some internal thinking, internal dialogue with myself, figure out what I wanted, and then I eventually came up with my escape plan. So, you know, that would lead me to quitting my job. Everybody thought I was crazy. My parents thought I was crazy. My mom was like, "Why are you gonna quit your job for? You making all this good money? It's UPS is a great company. You can get a 401k, a pension, this and that, all this fabulous stuff that corporate America likes to emphasize, right? Which is all good, fine and dandy. Different strokes for different folks. It just wasn't for me, because I had another vision. So I quit my job, and then I just started pursuing entrepreneurship. I had a sneaker business that I started with, and it did okay. And then eventually, I've done a couple of different things in between time, but eventually it's led me to this coaching business right here that I have, this life coaching business that I have, and it's more fulfilling than anything else, because it's rooted in fitness. And by the time that I actually quitted my job, I'm kind of bouncing forth and back, but by the time that I quit my job or whatever, um, I was one of the most important things to me was fitness, because I got into working out and discipline. And I've dabbled a little bit in like forex and stock market trading or whatever, and it's a very patient and disciplined game. So being an entrepreneur has taught me discipline at its finest level, and more importantly, being able to pour into myself. And I feel like that's what helped me get out of that state, was actually that depressive state that I mentioned before, was actually pouring into myself, doing things that I wanted to do, knowing what I wanted and how I was going to plan on getting it. Because that's all depression is, or anxiety is. It's not knowing what you want, or not knowing what to expect, or not knowing, what's going to happen. And at that point, it's like I just released it all, and I just put all my effort, I put all of my energy into the moment. And that's all that we have, is the moment. If you're anxious, you're worried about the future. If you're depressed, you're worried about the past. So you got to release all this tension, this built up emotions that are within you, and just live in the moment and just focus on self. And again, like, discipline does that for me, and it can do it for anybody. And I've seen this, because when you're disciplined, it's freedom. You're freed by your habits, because everything that you do is so important. When you pour into yourself, it's so important. It's like nothing else matters. You enter the zone and you enter this flow state where time doesn't exist. By the time you look up and you're doing something, you've been busy, like it's time to eat your next meal, or it's time to go to bed. And like nothing, it doesn't even matter. And by the time that you look up, days later, months later, like, you'll be infatuated by the process and what you've really done, because now I'm coaching people's lives. I'm making money. I'm looking better, aesthetically. My mindset is farther than it's ever been. I'm more in tune with my spirituality, and I know who I am more than anything, than ever. And like, if anybody knew me before, like, social media was never my thing, but I'm posted on social media every day, trying to make a name for myself, but trying to, speak life into everything, speak life into people, to show people that life is more grand than what you may see on a day-to-day basis. If your conditions are not ideal, that it can change if you put in the effort. And that's all that you need to do, is change the things that you do. You have to shift your paradigm. You have to become exactly who you want to be in the moment, even though it's not manifested quite yet. You manifest through your actions, and you manifest through your habits. And that's basically what that's done to me. It's kind of a long introduction, but it's kind of where we're at right now, right?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's perfect. Thank you for sharing also. And I think that there's so many good nuggets that I picked up, and um mainly like it's that mindset shift, right? Going from corporate into entrepreneurship, which I
Mhm.
know that well myself. Went from a corporate job and into my nonprofit full time. And it was like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Right.
Mhm. Yes.
But I knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me. Like you were saying, is that it just didn't align with what my vision was and what I needed. And I also love the idea of shifting like the time and that fog, and you kind of, well,
Mhm.
in my brain I'm like, I think of it as a fog, because oftentimes, I mean, I actually was on a call this morning that I'm like, I don't even know where my brain has been, but like, because all these things are happening, and it's like a time transport almost. But for me, I'm like, I feel like I'm dropping the ball, whereas what you said actually reframed it in my
Yes.
brain of I'm doing important work. And then now I can shift into this, oh, wow, look at what I've been doing, versus the, oh my gosh, I've dropped the ball and I'm not getting done what I need to. It's because I'm doing other things that need to get done. So something
Yes.
key that shifted in my brain as you were talking. But no, I think that's amazing that going from that place. And of course, moms, right? We all want our kids to
Yes.
be the best. I heard that too. What are you thinking leaving corporate, right?
Right.
But I don't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. I want to be able to do what is fulfilling for me. And that's just a different concept. And I think we are getting to a place in society that a lot of people are understanding that concept. So
For
I
sure.
love all those things that you said. And no worries about the big intro because that helps us understand where you're coming from.
Yes. Yes. It's definitely all about like what you want. You know, a lot of people don't know what they want. And like you said, mothers are going to be moms at the end of the day. They're concerned. You know, my mom is very concerned about me. She still thinks I'm 10 years old, and it's only natural. But, I say that to say because, they may not believe what you believe in. And people will, sometimes they'll rain on your parade, or they'll just not see the vision is in is really just like building within your own mind or within your own like soul. Like nobody really will see that. So it's very important that you just set out to do whatever it is that you want to do, because at the end of the day we all got a job, whatever it is, and that, to me, that's to serve. So especially if it's rooted in something of service, something that you can give, pervade your energy out on the highest level possible, then you have an obligation to go do that. You know, you don't get these inclinations and these desires for no reason. It's like, to me, it's divine, it's consciousness. You're tapped into something that's beyond you. The Most High is always in connection with you when you allow him to. It's just a lot of times we, as humans, we get infatuated or distracted with these little things here and there, and it can be rooted in like pleasure seeking, or like just watching TV and letting time pass by. But we all have a job to do, and when we actually indulge in that 100%, that's when you're fulfilled, when you're doing exactly what it is you want to do. That's when those feelings that I had, depression, or that's when that dissipated, you know, and I was in full control of my life. And then when you're in full control, no matter what happens, you don't even care anymore. You could be in not the best ideal situation in life, but you always know that tough times pass, or this is a realignment, or this is just building me. Because adversity, you meet you meet yourself when you're in adversity. A man will always meet himself when he's at adversity and when he's facing something difficult, because now you get to see what you're made of. Now you get to see the test, and are you going to pass the test, or are you going to come up short? And it's okay if you come up short, because you learn from it, right? This will make you a better person. So it's perspective in everything, and your perspective is really based on who you are and based off of what you want, you know, and you can't overlook that. It's very important that you always are in tune with what you want, who you are, and you will always be positive. You'll never be negative. Sometimes you may get confused, or you may be in limbo, but that's just your sign to, all right, let me take time to sit down and figure me out. Let me take time to go for a walk and actually talk to myself, because I feel like a lot of people do not talk to themselves. A lot of people like are just they're kind of like, just like, I like to think they're like zombies. They're just walking around and not really thinking and not really tapped in. But when you think and you ask yourself questions like, Jalen, why did I do that? Or, Jalen, why do I feel this way? Jalen, what do you want? Jalen, what do I need to do? Jalen. You talk to yourself all day. And I've heard Kevin Gates say all geniuses talk to themselves. So I like to think, I'm a genius. I talk to myself. And every time I talk to myself, especially out loud, I can really filter through problems. Because if you think about it as well, your consciousness voice in your head is, again, divine connection. So the Most High is really just helping you filter out what you want. It's helping you filter out what's good, you know, as opposed to what's bad. Because even before we do something that we're not supposed to do, I feel like we all know, okay, I'm really not supposed to do that. Or even when you get that regretful feeling afterwards, it's like, yeah, I definitely was not supposed to do that. That's your conscience, and that's the divine telling you that, oh yeah, like, you know better, or that you could have done something more productive within your time. So it's our duty, again, to talk to ourselves, to be our own best friends, to know what we want, so we can try to negate these feelings, or to push them off, so that they don't happen, and so that we can stay in a place of abundance. And that, depression, anxiety, or anything negative plaguing us, it'll be temporary or non-existent.
Yeah. So I have a couple of questions that are popping into my head, but we're going to go to our first sponsored break, and then once we get back, I'll ask those. So we'll be right back after this.
Perfect.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Kelli, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Make Mental Health Matter save lives?
Number 1. Awareness.
My story, however, it isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction, and because of Kelli and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here, and if it wasn't for Kelli answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
Number 2. Conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community. It is very hush hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelli, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different, and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3. Education.
Kelli's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelli's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually, and her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, we're back. I didn't mean to make us in circles. Let me try to not put us in a circle.
It does look cool, though.
Did it? We're just like a bobblehead. Welcome back. If you just happen to be joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, my guest Jalen and I are chatting about his story and really how he went from corporate America into entrepreneurship, which is not easy by any means, but really talking about coaching and how mindset plays a big factor in that, also fitness, and how that can play even a bigger factor in mental health challenges like depression or anxiety. And the question that I had for you, because you were talking about spirituality and how we can step into this person that we want to be, right? Like, we can also move out of depression or anxiety, and it sounds easier than it is, which I understand, but I'm wondering, like, can you explain for those that maybe haven't had that mindset shift yet, that like are like, yeah, whatever, he's just talking and I don't know what he's saying. Can you talk a little bit more about like that process, or what does it entail as far as you think it goes, or the way that has helped you in the past?
The process of leaving depression.
Yeah.
So for me, the process of leaving depression is, and I think I mentioned it before, but to me, it's just knowing what you want and then doing the work necessary to get there. You know, you're depressed more than likely because you could be worried about something in the past. And if that's the case, then you have to come to terms with that, which is most important. You have to come to terms with whatever is plaguing you mentally. So if it could be anything. Say it's a law, you know, You're depressed because you lost somebody, which is very tough to grieve, right? But you got to accept life and things for what they are, and you know, grieve how you need to, and just accept it, and be fine with it. Take your time to grieve. Take your time to flow through your emotions. Yes, it's not about pushing it off or sweeping it under the rug or just not feeling anything, because we're humans, right? And all humans have these emotions. We're always up and down emotionally. So it's healthy for you to figure out how to flow through your emotions in a healthy manner, and to not channel them, or not channel them negatively, and to not allow them to continue to have you in this low vibrational state, because that's all emotions are at a, you know, in a nutshell, is just a level of vibration or a level of energy and consciousness. So your thing is that you want to get elevated again. And how you get elevated again? You get elevated again by pouring into yourself and doing self-love. So when you're in a state of self-love, there's no way that you can be low. But depression is very low. So the first thing that is most important in any low vibrational state is being aware. So if you're aware of your feelings, which are a lot of people usually aren't, they don't know in the moment I'm angry or I'm sad or I'm feeling some certain type of way. They don't really identify it. So once you identify your emotions at a baseline level, like right now, I'm depressed. Now you can start asking questions. Well, why am I depressed? Oh, because I lost a friend last week. I love them very dearly. And it's fine you take a moment to actually experience your emotions, to celebrate them, remember them, whatever you got to do. But at the same time, you just cannot dwell on that situation. The longer you dwell on it and you stay at this level, the more they will begin to plague you, because emotions, they carry momentum when you're in certain states. They carry momentum. So on the other side of the spectrum, if you're in a state of love and abundance, this carries on. It continues to flood your life with love. It continues to flood your life with abundance, and you can offer this out to everybody else. Because why? Because emotions carry momentum. So again, it's important that you start pouring into yourself, figuring out who you are, what you want, and how you're going to attain that. And then you do something every day to contribute to that, because it's not like forgetting about it. It's just that I'm so indulged in the moment, is that I really don't have time to be in a negative state. But when the time comes, it's okay for me to, yeah, I do miss them, or I miss her, I miss whomever, and that's okay. So again, like, it's so important to pour into yourself, because self-love is the best love. If you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else, and then you won't be able to be loved by anyone else. So you have to pour into yourself first and foremost, so you can be of service to the world.
Yeah, I mean, one of the important parts that I hear you say also is that we have to identify our emotions, right? Because
Mhm.
I reflect, because I have a 9-year-old and he often has no idea how to label his emotions, right?
Mhm.
So, and I try to label them for him to get him to like start thinking about what these emotions and labels mean. But yeah, I think it's at those moments to be able to identify, hey, I'm feeling really mad. Why am I feeling mad? What is it about this situation, the event, myself, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
What is making me mad in this moment? And then asking questions, which I think is like one of the key parts, is we don't ask about it. We're not like, well, what's making me feel this way? It's like, I feel this way and I'm going to own it. And it's my baby blanket and I'm not letting it go
Yes.
because I can, right?
Right.
Whereas those of us, like myself and you, who have done the work behind the scenes, we've changed our mindset, we've learned about energies, we've learned about the vibration, we've learned about why people get depressed or have anxiety or all these things, right? A different level of understanding or consciousness, as some people say.
Mhm.
We know to like start asking those questions, but those that maybe have not explored that world, they just don't know. So what I'm doing is I'm just reiterating for those of you that
Mhm.
are listening, is like, when you get into those states or have those certain emotions that come up, why don't you challenge them? Like, find a way to challenge it in the way that you're thinking and see how that feels, right? Like, it's not a
Exactly.
perfect magical wand that's going to make everything magically be better, but at least you have choice in how it's going to hold you down or build you up or whatever that might be. So I love that you mentioned name it, then ask questions. And there is one other question that popped in my head, but we're going to go to our quick last sponsored break and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
8 million people die by suicide in the world each year.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
You can help too.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
Are you crypto curious? Maybe it's a little too scary for you to get involved in all this crazy Bitcoin cryptocurrency stuff. Join me, your host, Charlie Stivers of Goose Live. Find us on Achieve TV Thursdays, noon Mountain Time, where we talk all things crypto.
Hello, I'm Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson, also known as Dr. Burnout. You can catch me on Leadership Beyond Burnout on E360 TV on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Vitality Network, where we focus on emerging women leaders and women leaders.
And like that, we're back. If you're just joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for tuning in. So Jalen, before we went to the break, we were really talking about naming your emotions, asking questions, and really starting to shift into the self-love. And the question that popped into my head, because I have had even clients that I had worked with in the past, and I've asked that question, like, what do you do for self-care, or how do you love yourself, right? And I've actually had them say, I have no idea how to love myself. That's been an honest answer that I've gotten multiple times. So I'm curious for those people that and most of our audience are those that might be struggling themselves or are in this professional role that they don't know quite how to guide people into that self-love. So I'm curious if you could just talk a little bit about, like, what does it mean? What is self-love?
Okay. Well, I'm glad you answered that. Well, asked that question. Because to me, one of the most important ways of self-love is just a workout. For me, like, it first of all puts you in a flow state that you can't get out of when you're actually in the gym or doing anything physical. You're going for a run, you're just doing anything physical. It puts all the focus on the task at hand. So it's almost no way that I can be depressed because I'm in the middle of a workout. I haven't already started doing something continuous, something that is, first of all, getting my heart rate elevated, and that's keeping me at this state of breath, of breathing. And I said before that breathing is spiritual as well, because you look at the etymology of the word breath, it translates to spirit. So whenever you're at a high state of intensity and exercise, you're breathing in the spirit. And when you're breathing in the spirit, there's no way that you can be at a low vibrational state. That's why yoga is so relaxing. That's why all these other hot yoga, Pilates, all this other stuff that is just very good for your body, your cardiovascular system. It makes you feel instantly better afterwards. There's people that do breath work in the world that don't eat food, but they can live. Why? Because the breath is the spirit. So every time you're breathing, you're inhaling oxygen, right? And this fuels your cells, your mitochondria, all that. I wouldn't go to the depths of being a breatharian or whatever they call them. I like to eat, so I'm gonna stay away from that one. But simply put, exercise is one of the easiest ways to get out of a low vibrational state. One, because it puts you in the zone, it puts you in this flow state. And two, it'll instantly raise your vibration because of high intensity exercise. And again, three, it's self-love at its finest, because when you're exercising, you're again improving your whole physicality. You're improving yourself on a physical level, because exercise heals almost everything. Eating the right foods heal everything. So when you're mindful about just certain aspects of what I like to call holistic fitness, there's no way that you could just be depressed because I'm just infatuated and I'm worried about myself all the time. Not to be selfish, but I have to, in order to be, of service or anything to anybody else, I have to be to a certain degree. I don't think that I could be an influencer or a brother or a cousin that is of somebody that can look up to if I'm not constantly putting into myself, right? So that's exactly what self-love is, just pouring into yourself, just doing anything that is positive for you. So if that's paying attention to your workouts, only eating certain foods, that's self-love. Taking the time out to take yourself out, going for a walk with yourself, taking yourself on a date, talking to yourself and learning who you are, what you want. It's very important. That's self-love. Any of these things are very important, but to me, one of the quickest things is doing an exercise. Like I remember one time, personally, when I think this was definitely one time after I had quit my job and I was an entrepreneur. For some reason, I was just getting very, very anxious. I can't even pinpoint it. It could have been anything. I think my diet wasn't the best at the time. I'm not gonna lie. So it could have been something hormonal. Who knows? But I just remember not being very, just for some reason, I was just very anxious, right? And I was trying to figure out what it was. I couldn't really pinpoint what it was. But I would go out, and one of my staples is going out, and I'll just punch my punching bag, and I'll let it all out. Because again, it takes healthy outlets of you flowing through your emotions to get rid of them sometimes, because you could be angry and want to lash out on somebody or want to take it out on a family member or somebody you love, cuss them out, smack them around, or, do anything, but that's negative and you don't want to put this energy onto somebody else, right? That's just projections. You don't want to project your inadequacies or your negativity onto somebody else. You want to deal with it yourself or flow through it in a positive manner, and that could be, again, like just letting it all out on the bag. Or if you're angry, just cussing a pillow, bite your pillow, punch the bag and let it all out. You just got to find healthy outlets to flow through these emotions so we don't release them negatively and, more importantly, onto other people, because they don't deserve that. So every time I used to get anxious or whatever, I would go ham on my bag, just go ham on the bag for like 30 minutes to an hour. And again, it's something about that breath and that breathing to me that just gives you that clarity of mind. And now I was able to figure out exactly why I was like that, exactly what I was going through. It just, for some reason, it just gave me that clarity. So that's always my outlet. I even see people go to the gym all the time, and you can just see the look on their faces that they're not always very happy with life. But the fact that they show up to the gym, it speaks a lot of volume because of what it does for you when you're finished. The feeling that you get when you're done with a workout is so euphoric, and it's almost unmatched. It's because, like, if you chase anything, you chase a feeling like that. It's like a high, that post-workout high you get where your mental is so heightened. Your brain is much clearer. You can think. You get these, what I like to think of as downloads from the Most High, so that you know what you need to do, or you know exactly where you're headed because you have that clarity now. You've been breathing, and that breath is another thing that it just makes you so clear in the moment. And to me, it's the best outlet to channel any emotion. I mean, it's times I go to the gym, I don't want to go to the gym, but I do it anyway, because in the back of my brain, I'm like, I know exactly how it's going to make me feel afterwards. Everything is going to be clear to me afterwards. And you can't beat that on top of receiving the gains in due time. The high that you get after the gym is immediate, but the gains that you get are prolonged or however long, as long as you stay consistent. And there's, to me, no better feeling than that. And that does more for me than anything else. It translates into other aspects of your life. So if you're working on being disciplined or habitual in other things, then like this energy carries over, especially if you do it early. For me, doing it early, getting it out the way, because now the rest of the day is a breeze. Like I go to the gym, I do my workout, I finish, and now I don't even care what happens. God forbid I get struck by lightning. I'm in the hospital. I don't care. I did my workout earlier. You know what I mean? Because I know this will pass. Whatever goes on during the day will pass. You know, I'll be able to figure it out because I know how to get to a heightened state of frequency at the snap of a finger.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work out your physical health to help your mental health. And that is, I mean, something that I'm like, yeah, they totally, I mean, the mind and body are connected, therefore they affect each other. But I also, I mean, I reflect on, there was a time that I wasn't really exercising at all. And then we put a group together and we were doing Kinergy, which is like a dance movement, exercise thing, but it combines like all of the elements like earth, wind, fire, and I don't I'm like breath. I'm like the other one. And so it just like works out your whole body. And that was like the best time, or the best that I ever felt when I was doing that. I've gotten pretty lax lately, which I can tell because my mind is not as clear as it was before. And I know that I need to create space in my calendar. And I know oftentimes there are people who are like, really, don't tell me to go take a walk, don't tell me to go work out, right? Like they still want to sit in whatever is going on. But I promise you, even just based off of what Jalen said, is that when you work out your body, whether it is going to the gym or it's simply at home dancing or doing a movement of some sort of your body, like moving your body somehow. Like I'm one of those people that I fidget all the time and I can't stop moving most of the time, but that's just because I have to keep my energy going and that's how I do it. But it really truly affects your mindset, affects your mind, will help you get more clarity, which is really, really cool. And I didn't know that about breath, so I'm still in that.
Yes, it's like
cool.
you have to. You physical fitness and doing something that is active as humans, you have to. We were made this way. We were made to be what I like to think of as gladiators and Greek gods and goddesses. Like there's no way that we were put on this earth not ordained to do something that is physical and active, right? Because if we were primal and we didn't have all these wonderful blessings we had, we'd be outside in the wilderness and we'd have to figure it out. We'd have to, the survival of the fittest, we'll have to go outside, figure it out, hunt, and be able to put food on our tables and stay cool. I mean, stay warm with clothes on our back, right? We would have to go figure these things out. And it's no coincidence that that's what breath means, because when you're at this physical state, you're always going to be inhaling the breath and you feel better because you have been active. It's like our obligation. We have to. We have to. If people don't know that because they don't try that, or because it's hard, or because they're not in that paradigm at the moment. But everything changes when you actually start manifesting a physical lifestyle. At least it doesn't have to be like extraneous or something that is just super extreme, but you have to go outside and do something. You have to go for a walk. It's also no coincidence that exercise is a preventative to most of these diseases that we have in life. When you're active, you're able to starve off almost anything. Combine that with eating foods that are clean and whole and not processed stuff that we see on the shelves at the store. You combine these two things and disease is almost it's basically non-existent in your life, because everything is rooted in what you eat. So if you're not eating right and if you're not exercising, then you're almost inviting disease to come in your front door. You're almost inviting a virus to come through your front door. I mean, it's very hard for you to get sick if you are active, if you are always at a high state of intense exercise. You're always breathing. It's very, very difficult for you to really get sick, especially combining that with eating the right foods. It's very, very tough for that thing to occur to you. And that's why, to me, I know for a fact that it was our ordinance from the Most High to be active individuals.
Yeah. And I love the mindset and integrating all of these things in what you do currently also. So we're coming close to the end, but if somebody wants to work with you, what is the best place for them to go to check you out?
Okay. I feel like our conversation is starting to get so good too.
I know, right?
But if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at GodpreneurJ. At GodpreneurJ, I'm on Instagram. I got a YouTube that I'm about to start ramping up, so stay in tune for that as well. Same thing, GodpreneurJ. You'll find me on YouTube. I'm going to call it the Rich in Spirit podcast. So perhaps Kelli and I can have another conversation on our platform over there as well. I'd love to be a guest on here again. I think that's about it.
Nice. Let me I didn't have that link in here, so let me throw that in here really quickly. I had taken your other link, so let me add that so right there.
There we go. Yep. That's
So
where you can find me. If you're looking to really cure any of your holistic issues as far as mindset, if you're looking to transform your life from an integrative standpoint, you can always come to me. It'll be rooted in holistic fitness. We're going to kill your discipline. Not kill it, but we're going to ramp up your discipline, kill your bad habits, and just transform yourself. You're going to change your body. You're going to change your mind. You're going to change your life because, again, like it's a trickle effect. It's a snowball effect. Once you change and get discipline in one area, it gets easier to get discipline in more areas. And then at that point, like hardship, depression, anxiety, it's nothing to you. You're going to laugh at adversity when you see it.
Amazing. And for those of you listening, it is God, G-O-D, Preneur, P-R-E-N-E-U-R-J-A-Y. So Godpreneur J. Mm-hmm. And yes, I know this time goes so fast.
I know.
But I would love to have you come back. Any final words that you want to share with the audience?
Any final words? I just say, just focus on the positive. If you're going through something right now, just figure yourself out, learn more about who you are and what you want, and just know that whatever it is temporary and that it will pass, and that the days in the dark, they don't last long. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So just focus on becoming the best you that you can be, being 1% better or more the next day, and just be ready for love and abundance to flood your life, baby.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. I so appreciate you.
Thank you for being an amazing host. I appreciate you having me as well. Thank you.
All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. My lights, you probably noticed, they went on and off. They do that all the time. But what a great conversation. If really you can start to shift your mindset, you can start working out your physical body to work out your mental body, brain, really your brain with your body. You can start to shift things in your life. So maybe if you are somebody who is experiencing depression or anxiety, or you just need somebody to listen, somebody to get you to change and shift out of whatever is going on in your life, reach out to Jalen and have a conversation and see if it's a good fit. You never know, because there are so many people in this world that really truly want to help, and all of us have different perspective, different ways that we can really truly help whatever you might be struggling with. But no matter what you do, make sure that you come back next week. I go live every single Monday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time on E360 TV, or 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Dream Vision 7 Radio. I'll catch you next week.